All right, welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's my new co-host, Marcellus Wiley. Coming up, we'll tell you what Sam Darnold's debut really means.
Plus, we'll dive into the mystery around Aaron Rodgers' injury. But we start today with the Whitlock. What you got, big dog?
I got Jon Gruden, and Gruden isn't the problem in Oakland. Cash is. The Raiders lost 33-13 on Monday Night Football to the cash-rich, free-spending Los Angeles Rams. Cash is king in the NFL, and Raiders owner Mark Davis is relatively cash-poor until the Raiders move into their brand-new $2 billion playpen in Las Vegas. Los Angeles owner Stan Kroenke made it rain all offseason inside the Rams locker room. He stretched the salary cap with large signing bonuses to Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald, Brandon Cooks, and anyone else he thought could help the Rams win immediately while quarterback Jared Goff is on a rookie deal. Kroenke is worth about $8 billion. He made his money in real estate. His wife is a Walton, an heiress to the Walmart fortune. She's worth about $6 billion in change. Together, they own several sports franchises as hobbies. Mark Davis is worth around $400 to $500 million. The Davis family made their money in professional football. The actual business of football has to make sense for Davis and the Raiders. It's not easy for Davis to cut a check to Khalil Mack for $34 million on day of signing, especially when the Raiders have already paid their franchise quarterback. $34 million is what the Bears handed Mack day one, and an additional $26 million in guarantees over the first 3 years of Mack's contract. $60 million is more than 10% of Mark Davis's total wealth. You ever signed over 10 to 15% of your wealth? That hurts almost as much as a California divorce settlement. It's cheaper to keep Chucky. Much has been made of his 10-year, $100 million contract. It's a smart play. You pay Gruden $10 million a year to serve as the franchise's mascot. He's Marshawn Lynch without the dreads. Fans in Oakland love Gruden. He makes the franchise nationally relevant, and he makes them interesting on the field. I thought he outcoached Sean McVay and Wade Phillips last night. Gruden is working with next to nothing. He took a 31-year-old Jared Cook and made him look like the second coming of Tony Gonzalez. The Raiders led at halftime 13-10, primarily because the Rams didn't know how to cover a journeyman tight end who's never caught more than 54 passes in a season. Cook caught 9 last night for 180 yards. He's on pace to break all of Jerry Rice's records. 2 things doomed the Raiders last night. Derek Carr wet the bed and tossed 3 interceptions. But even worse, without Khalil Mack, the Raiders gave McVay and Jared Goff too much time to figure out what to do offensively. Goff stood in the Rams' pocket without a care in the world. He had time to survey the field, clip his fingernails, order from DoorDash, and organize a search party for missing teammate Ndamukong Suh. We'll get into this later, Marcellus, but did Suh ever leave the line of scrimmage last night? Gruden and the Brooklyn Raiders likely won't be playoff qualifiers this year and next. It's going to be rough, and you'll hear a lot of talk about the game passing him by. I don't see it. Cash rules everything around Gruden. He's going to rise like cream when the Raiders get to Las Vegas.
This essay is interesting because I wanted to give you a fail. I wanted to, but you start tugging at my heartstrings, man. All those Wu-Tang references, I couldn't give you an F on this one. So I give you an incomplete. Incomplete. You framed a financial argument based on net worth when you know in the NFL they have a hard cap. So if they have a hard cap, guess what? We all have the same ceiling and we all have the same floor since they also have a minimum cap. Every team in NFL can spend up to $177 million on this roster, the ceiling. And then the floor is you have to spend 95% of that. So your net worth is out the door. Your financial hardships personally are out the door once you qualify as an owner. So as you call it, Brokeland is not as broke as you want to make it sound because they can still write the same checks under the NFL's financial laws that a Kroenke can, and they just chose not to do it.
Here's where we have just a major disagreement, and I've disagreed with the league. I disagreed with Carl Peterson when he was running the Chiefs and Clark Hunt, with the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs. This is what I believe about the salary cap. y'all players, to some degree, have fallen for the okie dokie. Y'all believe in a hard cap.
Okay.
I don't. I believe it's all about cash up front. If an owner is willing to hit $34 million, he can stretch the cap, and it can be as elastic as anything on the planet. And that's why the Rams were sitting out there, yeah, we'll take Khalil Mack. Because Kroenke is worth so much money, and he's willing to spend so much up front that he'll stretch the cap, and it's the most elastic thing on the planet, and then they'll make moves a year or two later down the road to fix the cap when the cap hits start coming. And so I just think Kroenke and a lot of the rest of the guys around the league have made billions in other industries. Al Davis and now his son, they made their money in football. Okay. And the business has to work. And so I looked out there and saw the whole Jon Gruden thing to me. I watched it last night, and I go, you know what? This makes sense. He adds some gravitas to the Oakland Raiders. He makes them a national story. There's a way to talk about it. And then just in terms of coaching last night, I thought, particularly in the first half, until, it just got out of hand, I thought he really outcoached Sean McVay and Wade Phillips. I thought he took Jared Cook, shoved him down their throat, stayed in that game, and had a chance to win when the gap in talent was enormous. That should have been a blowout from word go.
Okay, you just wrote another essay because you know what? You try to counter my argument with a conspiracy theory. It may make you feel good emotionally, but I'm being fact-based up here. So there is a hard cap. There is a minimum salary cap. Beyond that, let's talk about if we're going to make a correlation between your net worth and what you can spend on your salary and your roster. The richest owner in football is the Cleveland Browns, and then followed by the Seattle Seahawks and the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Carolina Panthers.
No. The Haslam's not.
No, Carolina Panthers.
Paul Allen is the richest.
Right.
Gotcha.
Didn't we just hear the Seattle Seahawks have to pay a Russell Wilson to say bye to the Legion of Doom? Like, now, if you say bye to the Legion of Doom and you're the richest owner in sports, how come you're not manipulating the salary cap, as you say in your conspiracy theory, to write more checks going forward?
Not worth it. Not worth it. Have you, Richard Sherman, torn Achilles. Michael Bennett, a lot of wear on his tires.
Still a baller.
Cam Chancellor, injury, whatever. Again, it's not where Earl Thomas is pushing 30 or is 30. I just don't. I think they're at a point where they feel like it's not worth it. And look, not everybody that's rich is, hey, like I'm gonna throw my cash around. Some people are a bit more stingy.
But there is a minimum cap for those reasons. But let's talk about the fan base. And you're saying they try to appease the fan base by giving them Chucky. Now, here's the thing. Here's the problem with the Raiders organization under Mark Davis, which has manipulated this franchise over the years to the point where its fan base should be upset with ownership. They have not won a division title since 2002. This is not a winning organization. Just win, baby. That baby's old. That baby's grown. That baby has not won in a long time. And you're thinking about trying to get a Jon Gruden. He's sitting there comfortable with air conditioning on in the Monday Night Football booth. And they sit there and say, we have to get Chucky. But the optics can't look like he's a stopgap just to market us to Las Vegas. So what do? Which most people do when they lie and get caught in a lie? They go to the extreme. You don't give a coach in a non-guaranteed sport a 10-year contract because then that same coach comes in day one. Oh, my defensive star, future Hall of Famer? I ain't calling him. Oh, my all-pro punter? I ain't calling him. Matter of fact, I'm going to cut him before I even meet him. He's so comfortable in his position that you're saying that they're not spending the money. I'm saying they don't care to spend the money. All they care about is moving.
I think on Marquette King, the punter, I think you're right. I think that was Gruden coming in and punching a guy, toughest guy in the prison. I'm going to take him out.
Yeah.
As it relates to Khalil Mack, I just think that's an organizational decision. And I'm really not speculating. I'm talking about people connected to the Raiders organization have told me quite clearly Mark Davis is not just cutting that kind of mammoth check after he's already done it for Derek Carr and he's done it for Jon Gruden. I was right there with you. We talked about this, I think, last week, just personally. I was right there with you, like, this Jon Gruden thing is probably a bad move. What you don't do this to play 10 years and all that safety and comfort. You don't provide that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, off of last night, I was like, I get it And I think Jon Gruden is going to take a lot of bullets over the next 2 years, and people are going to say he's comfortable and he's got too nice of a contract. But I saw a guy last night that came in instantly with a bad roster, had an immediate impact. The Rams are the best roster in football, very impressive last year, weapons everywhere, and the Raiders stayed in this game for a long time, and Derek Carr was miserable. And so I give a lot of that credit to Jon Gruden, and I don't think he's back for comfort reasons or because they rained so much money on him. I think the guy has a chip on his shoulder and is just as hungry as he's ever been as a coach.
Look, they were amped up. The energy, the mojo, the passion, that exuded from this team, and I respect that. And you're going to do that when you're playing for Jon Gruden at home in Oakland. But you know what also happened? They lost to a team that was having their first preseason game because the Rams didn't play any of their starters in the preseason. They came out there rusty, straight off of the mattress, and it took them a half to wake up. And then when they did wake up, they beat them boys down.
They outscored them.
and beat them up.
But I don't know if they really I thought what they did with Gurley and all, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I'll just say that we'll end. You're saying you're not betting on Jon Gruden being successful here in the long run in Oakland?
No, because if you give up Khalil Mack for 2 first-rounders, first you have to draft well. Let's see how that plays out. And also, you're banking on the future. So why do I make an assessment right now in the present when I need to see who you're bringing on this roster? You're walking out there with the oldest roster in NFL.
I agree.
You're trying to zig when everyone else is zagging? Let's see how it plays out.
I think that's a move for right now. When they get to Las Vegas, I think they're going to be all in. They're going to be spending money. They're going to acquire players. And I think there's a handful of coaches that have a real impact in the NFL.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that 3 to 5 of them.
Okay.
And I think Jon Gruden's one of them. We saw proof of it last night. All right, welcome back. Marcellus and I are joined by Fox NFL analyst Tony Gonzalez and Mark Schlereth. It's time for some big stories. Let's return to Oakland, where the Rams got off to a slow start, but ended up putting it on the Raiders last night, 33-13, with Jared Goff in the offense, turning it on in the second half. And while their so-called Dream Team defense only gave up 13 points and forced 3 turnovers out of Derek Carr, I still wasn't that impressed.
Okay.
I saw nothing from Ndamukong Suh. I saw Aaron Donald make one play. I thought he was effective. He made one play and the ref stole it from him. It was a sack. How is she going to sack a guy on the knee but hit him in the knees? But I thought linebackers were horrendous. And that's why Jared Cook ran wild and they ended up having to put Aqib Talib on a 31-year-old journeyman tight end. And so I just sluggish, overconfident. I didn't even like Sean McVay when Marcus Peters gets the interception at the end. The game was already decided. Sean McVay running down there after the dude hot dogged it in the end zone and all that, celebrating and kissing Marcus Peters' rear end. I'm still not all in on the Rams.
I'm all in on the Rams, and they proved it to me because they took a slumber in the first half because of the preseason rust. Then they came out in the second half, self-corrected, and started to put it on Oakland. I go back to last year when you watched the New England Patriots lose that first game at home. Everyone was like, whoa, what's going on with the Patriots? How did that turn out? And this is a situation where star meets stars in terms of you get a Marcus Peters with a Aqib Talib, you get in Ndamukong Suh with Aaron Donald. You know how it always goes in the locker room and on the film. Everyone's so courteous. Everyone's so cordial. It takes that moment. Let's go back to the Miami Heat. LeBron James, when he finally joined Dwayne Wade, who's his best friend. And after 17 games, they're a 500 team, 9-8 basically. And they're basically battling whose house is this and who gets the master bedroom, because LeBron is sitting there like, I'm the better player. I need to be able to tell you in harsh terms what's up. And it takes time for that to gel together to get that chemistry. What you saw with the Rams last night was rust. What you're going to see in the short term is that cordial chemistry finally getting raw and them breaking it down. That's when this team has its breakthrough, and you're going to see this team's going to be a contender.
Yeah, I am all in on the Rams. Their talent.
Based off last night, their talent. Now understand this. You look at the inside 3 players, Kelechi Osemele.
you look at Rodney Hudson, and you look at Gabe Jackson. Those are three of the best offensive linemen in football. So, you know, I look at Ndamukong Suh and I look at Brockers, and they've got great guys. Aaron Donald is, in my opinion, one of the best players in all of football, maybe the best defensive player in football. But I thought their linebacking core flew around. I thought they tackled exceptionally well, albeit not on the tight end. I'll give you that. They missed some coverages on the tight end. But the bottom line, they got two corners who are not afraid of anything. They will run up, they'll hit you, they'll tackle you. They got the same thing at the safety position, and their linebackers can fly. I think they are as talented a group, and Wade Phillips will have these guys playing exceptional football. And the one thing they have, they've got two guys that can lock you up in man coverage on the outside and say, now what? Like, we're going to let our guys go. This group, and Marcellus is right, they didn't play. This group, as it starts to play, like nobody in football wants to line up against the Rams right now on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, you see what they did to Amari Cooper. You're talking about those two cornerbacks.
Right.
I mean, they kind of locked him up, and we knew all year, all preseason, that he's going to be that guy, that deep threat in that offense for the Raiders. But I agree with you a little bit. I think they came out just overconfident. They came out there, look, we're going to show up and just going to write our names, and we're going to be good, and we're going to be great. And then Oakland came out there and gave it to them in that first half, especially with those couple physical runs. But going forward, it's going to come around. They got too much talent. Wade Wilson, that coach, is going to get these guys together. That's the only thing stopping them. Wade Phillips.
Yeah. But look, you brought up Suh. If you watch Suh over his career, he's not a sack artist. He averages 6.5 sacks a year. You know what that means in real numbers, in real games? Every 3 games, you get 1 sack. That's what Ndamukong Suh is. And ask Miami about Ndamukong Suh. They knew that he morphed into something different than the 10-plus sacks he had in his rookie year. And Jared Cook, balling out of control, that was a trap set by Wade Phillips. You know why it was a trap? Because as well as he performed, 2 of those 3 interceptions went where? Trying to force it to him in the end zone, and then a pick 6 by Marcus Peters. Wade Phillips said, your receivers are done. 5 catches, 43 yards. Throw it to Cook all you want and try to beat us that way.
I'll say my issue with Ndamukong Suh and his effort, it's just like it's a poison because I'm not counting sacks.
Okay.
I'm counting effort. And I watched him like I used to watch Chester McLaughlin in Kansas City. Yeah. And sometimes you get these oversized, overly talented Albert Haynesworth, Ndamukong Suh, Chester McLaughlin. They got all the talent in the world. And Mark played against Chester McLaughlin a lot of times, I would imagine. The dude was lazy, and he would lay down. And Ndamukong Suh got all the talent in the world, but you set that poison in the middle of your defense because everybody watches the film, and I was watching the game, and I like to watch line play. The effort wasn't there from Suh. This is your first, you trying to get a new contract next year and trying to, I didn't see it there against the Oakland team that's not that good. And then I just think the Rams on offense, and Gurley's a beast, and I like Jared Goff more and more every time I see him. But they faced no pass rush pressure yesterday at all. They could do whatever the hell they wanted to do offensively, particularly in the second half. I just don't think it was much of a test. Look, the Rams have the talent to be good, but sometimes I think you can have too much talent. Our next big story is last night's early game where Sam Darnold and the Jets demolished Matt Stafford and the Lions 48-17. Darnold's first pass went for a pick 6, but he rebounded to throw a couple of touchdowns and didn't seem too worried about the rocky start.
It was one of those where right when I let it go, I thought I had him. And then out of the corner, right when I released it, I saw the defender and just thought, oh, shoot. On that interception, I was pretty nervous. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But after that, put it behind me. I hate to say it, but those types of things are going to happen in the first game. Just kind of starting to get a rhythm with all the guys. And I'll start hitting those throws. But other than that, I thought I played pretty well.
I got to be honest. The most impressive thing there, I thought he was wearing shoulder pads. It took me a while to like, my God.
Big dude, huh?
Yeah. All right, to the New York Daily News, they celebrated the win in classic New York tabloid style with the headline, "Wham, bam, thank you, Sam." I'm not ready to go there just yet. Oh. I have fallen in love with young quarterbacks in their first game. Carson Wentz comes to mind early. First time I ever saw him, I was like, oh, blew my mind.
You're not in love with him still?
Oh, no, I still like Carson. I still like Carson. Okay. But I'm saying, so I'm open to the possibility of like seeing a rookie quarterback and going, damn, I ain't seen that. I didn't get that feeling last night from Sam. I thought it was good, but he didn't blow my mind, and I just want to pump the brakes. I want to show you what the New York Daily News does to every quarterback that has a good first game. That's Geno Smith
Yeah.
and Mark Sanchez, A Star Is Born. We've seen this before from the New York Daily News.
Yeah, well, let me just say this.
Get him.
With this kid, one thing you have to understand is, yeah, they don't blow you away, or he didn't blow you away the way he played, but that's by design. Talking to the Jets coaches, they understand exactly who he is. This kid is a hard worker, unbelievable athlete. He's got the love and just admiration of his football team because he came in there and earned it. And they understand that you're going to make mistakes as a rookie. So they are going to run the ball. They're going to run a West Coast wide zone, boot keep, take advantage of his athleticism. Talking to their coaches, he has got an unbelievably quick release, and he spins the ball super tight. They say he can be late with a throw and still get it there. They are on this. But Todd Bowles was a teammate of mine in Washington. Todd Bowles understands what they're going to have to do. 21 passes. That's it. They put 48 points on the board. 21 times they allowed him to drop back. That's coaching. That's saying we understand that we have a young kid. We're going to get him outside on the edge. He had a boot keep that was a first down that he scrambled on. We're going to get him out on the edge. We're going to make sure that we give him a half-field read and get him out there on a boot keep game. We are going to take this. We're going to give him opportunities to be you walk into the game with that style of offense, you're going to be 6 for 6 right off the bat just on the boot keep game. So and if we're only going to throw it 21 times, you're already 6 for 6, guess what? You're going to give us a chance to win. That's what they're going to do with Sam Darnold. That's why he's going to be successful this year.
Yeah, look, I think we're missing why he is special and why they see such greatness in him. The tangibles, his Madden rating is off the charts in terms of talent. Let's be real. But it's the mental makeup. It's the intangibles. This is a guy who's a 2.0 quarterback. That's the next level that's coming. Aaron Rodgers on next. If you look at the collegiate high school level, these athletes that are playing quarterback that are not compromising their arm because of their legs. He's that guy. He can improv. But also, it's the mental makeup. Not just on the field as a leader, being around him. I actually got a chance to meet him. I was talking to his school, and he's a broadcast student in class, and this is the week before he started. So this is before the world knew Sam Darnold. And this is a guy that gets it. And this was the example that told me he got it. When you talk about New York to most guys, a Mark Sanchez or some guys, they all say this to try to sound PC. Oh, I'm not living in New York. I'm not going to New York. New York doesn't exist. And I don't want to hear that. And then I hear some other guys say, oh, yeah, I moved to downtown Manhattan, man. I still know how to focus. And don't want to hear that. You hear a guy like Sam Darnold talk, he knows how to juggle. He knows the balancing act. And I think his teammates have seen enough of a guy who really gets it. And finally, it's like, we're buying into this guy. With those talents that he possesses and that mental makeup, he's going to be.
Yeah, he's a blue-collar dude. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, I'm with you. Come on, let's pump the brakes. I'm not. The question is, too soon to crown him. No, Peyton Manning came in with 3-15, whatever his record was. Led the league in interceptions. I'm not judging anybody off of one game, especially a rookie quarterback. So I'm just going to wait a little bit. He looked good last night, but I was more impressed with the defense. And I was more disappointed with what the offense was doing for the Detroit Lions. I just think he was in a great position last night, but I got to see it going forward.
That's what I'm saying. Todd Bowles is going to continue to put him in a great position. I think Todd Bowles is a hell of a football coach that probably never had the talent to actually win there until now as they're starting to amass that talent.
Well, let's not use that against them because Tom Brady in his first year starting in the Super Bowl win was still in a protected space as well. You asked him to go out there, manage the games, if you want to call it that. This is a team yesterday, the Jets, that scored on offense, defense, and special teams all in 2.5 minutes.
Marcellus just said Sam Darnold's taking to the Super Bowl.
I didn't say that.
No, that's what you said. That's what
Carson Palmer said that.
Carson Palmer did say that.
Carson Palmer said that.
And it's a good analogy, or some of what you all are saying. It reminds me of when Big Ben came onto the field.
Sure, right.
And they protected him, and he won a bunch of games without putting up big numbers, and they had a great defense. And so I'm with Tony. That was my other point, was like, no, I thought Todd Bowles' defense was very impressive. The Lions' defense, unimpressive. Their offense, unimpressive. I thought Todd Bowles, in terms of the way he handled Sam Darnold, not putting too much on his plate, I was more impressed with that than Sam Darnold. And that's not a knock on Sam Darnold, but I didn't see the second coming of Carson Wentz last night. Maybe we'll see it next week. All right, welcome back. Tony Gonzalez and Mark Schlereth are with us. Let's move to Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers just led a heroic comeback Sunday night, but the Packers could be done celebrating for the moment. Coach Mike McCarthy is declining to explain what Rodgers' injury is, but admits his status for this week's showdown with Minnesota is still up in the air. Of course, if it was the Vikings who knocked Rodgers out for the season last year, but I think Green Bay should play him. I just don't. If this was an away game, I would sit him. And you can't give away divisional home games, particularly this early in the season. So I know it's high risk, but he's a smart dude. He can get rid of the ball quick. I would not sit him this game.
Well, to me, the answer is in the diagnosis, and only Mike McCarthy really knows that. If you think about it, some injuries just don't worsen even if you play. Like, it depends on where it is. Is it on this side of the threshold, or like a torn meniscus that, you know, quarterbacks can get away with? Grade 1 MCL. Is it a hyperextension? That's kind of like, all right, let's go see it. But if it's something worse than that, then Mike McCarthy obviously should sit this guy. You got to think about the future and the runway. That said, look, we all saw RG3 evaporate on the football field because of a knee injury that some people said he shouldn't have played and really altered his career. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers is not in that place, in that space, because if so, definitely sit him
He's
down.
never in the RG3 place. But
Well, the knee may be, not the player, but the knee may be.
Listen, I just know from experience when the doctors say, well, you can't do any further damage. Yes, you can do further damage, right? When they say that, I mean,
How many knee
automatically,
surgeries?
yeah, 20 knee surgeries, and I mean, you think about this now. If you're playing with an injury or you're playing with a torn piece of meniscus or whatever the case may be, you're creating degenerative changes within your joint that arthritic changes that are going to happen. So, of course, you're doing further damage. With that said, I would think long and hard about sitting him, and then I would play him.
Right.
Like Deshaun Kaiser came out of the draft and said, hey, listen, I've got the body of Cam Newton and the mind of Tom Brady. I automatically took him off the draft board. Like, you can't play for me. Like, if you're that, I mean, you're crazy if you think that that's what you are. You're not going to win without Aaron Rodgers. So if he can walk at all, I'm telling you what, you got to be a friend of the needle. I was a friend of the needle. That's what kept me in games. Shoot that damn thing up, get him out there, and let him lead his team. You ain't winning without Aaron Rodgers. You ain't winning without 12.
No. Is this guy old school or what?
Man, for real.
Let's get out there. Come on, tough it
Go.
out. Yeah, if you're going to lose if he doesn't play. That's all there is to it. So just know that. And then, but also you have to think ahead too and go, well, we got a long season. You're going against one of the best defenses in the league, probably the second best team, in my opinion, in the NFL. So you have to be smart about it. But he showed that he didn't even need a knee. I mean, he can go out there and just limp around and win this game. But I think that's what it is. You got to know the diagnosis. Is it something that could linger for the rest of the year, or you take 1 week off and then you'll be right back into the fold next week? I would just judge it from that situation.
I really see this as a non-issue. If Green Bay sat out and watched what Khalil Mack did in the first half and put Aaron Rodgers back on the field, how can they not play him against the Vikings? He got hurt in the first half of that game. They sat and watched Khalil Mack just dominate the whole thing, and they still stuck him out there, and he knew how to protect himself and play. I think you're in the same situation here.
I think the difference is, though, you're coming back out there, you're trying to lead your team to an epic comeback. Adrenaline takes over.
Yeah.
Right? You're in that moment. It's hard to manufacture adrenaline before a game. That, especially if you know, like, hey,
he's still salty with the Vikings over that hit.
I will tell you this, though. I have never seen a guy who is a better off-platform thrower. He's thrown on one leg, he can't step up, and he still drives the ball. Usually, if you can't step up, you're going to sail the ball over a receiver's head. He's still driving the ball down the football field, one leg.
Yeah, to your point about the adrenaline, that's a real thing because once you get a chance to prepare, have your collective breath, a step away from the game to come back that next Sunday, we all know it, whether you had an injection at halftime, whatever it is, you can't manufacture that emotional space. You can't just say, I'm going to go right back to that place. The adrenaline allowed him to continue, but now to try and get back to that place, sometimes the elevator doesn't reach it.
All right, let's move to Seattle, where the Seahawks are looking for answers after a Week 1 loss to the Broncos in Denver. And while Pete Carroll may be known as a player's coach, yesterday he didn't mince words about his most important player, Russell Wilson.
It always goes back to the QB. Everybody's going to focus on that. Russ needed to do better than he did yesterday, but we need to help him a lot. He got rushed, He got hammered. We got sacked 6 times in the game, and it's going to be hard for him. And he was in the midst of some of those, so he bailed a couple times and got in trouble. But we didn't protect him as well as we need to, and throughout.
All right, so Pete Carroll spent with the Legion of Boom and the old school guys. He took a lot of heat. He didn't attack or didn't question or criticize Russell Wilson. And we thought some of moving out the Legion of Boom would be less conversation or any negative conversation about Russell Wilson. I don't know if I would have made any comments this early in the season about Russell needs to do better. Russ is all they got. And I think Pete's criticism is somewhat legitimate. Russ tries to do too much in the pocket sometimes rather than just getting rid of the ball. I get it. I would handle it privately more than I would publicly.
Well, I have no issue with him calling them out because my assumption is you came to me first, Coach, with the criticism. Therefore, once the outside world hears that echo, it doesn't matter because in that same conversation, if I didn't want the outside world to know, I would let you know. And then if you did cross that line, then we got a problem, Coach. But it's time for him to put his big boy pants on. Tom Brady has to wear them. Belichick will call Tom Brady out tomorrow without any issue. And in part, it's because Tom Brady's Tom Brady and your greatness. You got big shoulders. In part, is because you got the big contract, Russell Wilson. And when you weren't getting paid like the franchise quarterback you were, yeah, we're going to protect you in other ways so you don't feel the pain. But now, since the Legion of Boom is gone and it's your team, here you go.
Listen, I would never do it in public. I would never do it in a public platform. One, I think from a coaching standpoint, you guys did not do a very good job at all. One, you only ran the ball 16 times. I called the game. Yeah. You only ran it 16 times. Two, you set up no boot keep action game at all. You did not get your quarterback outside the pocket ever, designed. So you didn't put a threat on that defense, a run-pass option threat ever, not one time in that game. The one time you half rolled out, you threw a 51-yard touchdown to Lockett. It was an exceptional route, but you got him away from all that pressure and you threw it. You did that one time. So, it's don't point the finger, pull the thumb. That's on you as a coaching staff. Now, if you want to rip him in team meeting, I'm all for it. Man, I saw my offensive line coach rip John Elway for not carrying out a boot keep. I mean, in his grill. In team meetings. That doesn't bother me at all. We all go through that. But I'm like, if you want to point the finger, point it at yourself and say, we have to do a better job coaching Russell Wilson. I just don't want to put it out in public.
He has Coach Carroll. He has that reputation being that player's coach. You led with that. And I've been reading that they're talking about the Russell Wilson rules for that team. That basically he gets better treatment. Now, I'm wondering if this could have been done by design, where it's like, hey, I'm going to go to you, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go to the media, and I'm going to tell them that the same thing I just told you. I have had that situation before. I remember when I showed up to Atlanta Falcons, my position coach, his name's Chris Selfo. Love him to death, still one of my best friends. I showed up the first day. I don't even know this guy. He calls me on the phone, and he goes, hey, that first couple days of practice, I'm just going to let you know right now, I'm going to get into you. Even if you're doing it kind of right, I'm going to yell at you in front of everybody. He has that accent, too. Right. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because if they see me yelling at you, the things you've done, imagine what that message is going to send to them. And I was like, okay, I guess. I go, but be careful, don't cross the line. I'm out to embarrass you. Right. But I'm wondering if this is him saying, you know what, I'm going to take control of the team. If I'm going to call Russell out, the leader of this team. Nobody on this team is above me and what I'm trying to get done.
It goes back to... Jimmy Johnson, our Jimmy Johnson right here, said this a long time ago. He said, if the 4th or 5th string running back falls asleep in the meeting, he's getting cut. If Emmitt Smith falls asleep in the meeting, he's getting nudged. Right?
Or pillow.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah, so, that's the way that goes.
Let's talk about in the locker room how it plays. As you said, Tony, there's an absence of dog on this team because the Legion of Boom is gone, right? And all respect to Russell Wilson, but that's not my type of leader. I like hard, barking, biting dogs. I want to hear you coming, and then I want to feel you when you come. Russell Wilson is more of the polite effort, and I think that maybe this is the play of design where he's like, let me show a little bite of our team, a bite into our team, because we have some absent dogs who are no longer on this roster.
All right, welcome back. Tony Gonzalez is back. We're joined now by Pro Football Hall of Famer Rod Woodson. Let's return to Jon Gruden, who had a rough Monday night getting blown out by the Rams and his long-awaited return to the sidelines. The Raiders came out strong and controlled the ball early, but even Gruden admitted they weren't the same after halftime. Even still, I don't blame Jon Gruden. Again, I think they were overmatched talent-wise. I thought Gruden got the best he could out of the Raiders last night.
He did some great play calling. And look, schematically, based on what they were giving him, he wanted to pound the ball with Marshawn Lynch to keep that pass rush off him. And he wanted to go to his receivers, but he realized, hey, look at Jared Cooper out here who's going to be wide open because he's not going to be a top option in terms of what the defense priority is. So good for Gruden in that way, and the emotional response from his team. They came out pumped up, and they jumped on the Rams, who didn't have a preseason as a starting unit, so therefore they were a little rusty. By choice.
You know what? You look. They played really good football for 2.5 quarters. They did, offensively, defensively, and at the end of the day, your quarterback can't throw 3 picks. He can't. I think they had a good game plan offensively. Look, Jared Cook is he's a good tight end. Everybody's talking about Coop because, Coop's #1 pick. But Jared Cook, he can run. Yeah. And I think everybody saw that he's a good catcher. And he has some but he got a little dog in him. So, and then Marshawn Lynch, he can still debo you. He gets on the goal line. He still can run. He can do well. At the end of the day, they had a better football team.
Rod, you were on that defensive coaching staff. I don't like the defensive personnel. No pass rush, no.
You get rid of your best pass rusher in Khalil Mack, and even when Khalil was there, we didn't generate the rush that you always would want, even when Khalil was there. But I think, Paul Guenther has to find a way to get to the quarterback. If he can't find individual matchups, then he's schematically he's going to have to find different ways to get pressure on quarterbacks. You can't let Jared Goff like that, and any quarterback in the National Football League sit there for 5 seconds. He got 1 sack, and that 1 sack. He was sitting there for 5 seconds. So schematically, they're going to have to find some help to get that pass rush, to get that quarterback off the mark. At the end of the day, I believe they're going to be a good football team. They're going to be a better football team. They just ran into the Rams, who have a lot of talent. And at the end of the day, they played better than they did and had better plays than they did over the course of the game.
I agree with all you guys. I'm excited for the Raiders. Raider Nation, you should be excited from what I saw out there. I still think Chucky is playing the long game. First, we got that 10-year deal. So he's playing that longer, man. I do believe that he's copying that New England Patriots motto where we don't max out players. We're going to bring a bunch of really good football players in here, and we're going to win. And then offensively, too, when they took away their best player on offense, the receiver, Amari Cooper, they went to the next guy. And what do you see the New England Patriots do all the time? They make adjustments. One guy's going to be a hero one week. This guy's going to get off this week. I would be excited. I think everything, he's been sitting up in that Monday night booth watching the best franchise in the NFL, and I think he's trying to copy what they kind of do. And I saw that. They played hard. They played well. The quarterback could have played a little bit better, but that's going to come. I think I'm excited for the Raiders.
For any of you, they got the oldest team in the league. Yeah. That kind of surprises me.
Yeah, look, you said they're playing the long game, so that means if you're playing the long game, it's not a win-now situation. So you're going to go with an older veteran team that's going to understand and take the lumps and bruises, not an emotionally responsive team that's going to be younger and is like, we got to win every game. They're not constructed to win right now, so they will exceed expectations as they go through the process and transition of moving to Vegas.
They were young. When I was there, they were young, and then Chucky got rid of most of Reggie McKenzie's draft picks. And they've gotten the older veteran defensive players again, very similar to what Jon Gruden had the first time he was around. Now, it doesn't mean they can't win. They have to, at the end of the day, they have to have the quarterback play solid football. He had a great year 2 years ago. He has it in him. And if he can just find that rhythm on a consistent basis where he's distributing the football and they're running the football the way they're capable of doing, because their offensive line is a solid offensive line, especially center, 2 guards, solid offensive line. You got some running backs. Defensively, they played really good football for the 2.5 quarters. They just got to play for 4 quarters, and they can do that. They can win some football games.
All right, to another guy whose comeback was spoiled this week, Andrew Luck, the former Pro Bowler, threw for over 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns in his first start back after missing more than a full season, but it still wasn't enough for the Colts to overcome the Bengals. Marcellus, I want to tee you up here. I think you have some interesting thoughts, perspective on Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I mean, look, he had an impressive debut this year. But it's interesting, as you were talking about Derek Carr and the tale of two quarterbacks. I am here to say that I see a tale of two quarterbacks even in Andrew Luck. But the media, as a collective, doesn't want to go there on Andrew Luck. And it was even off the field that I realized, this media is giving this guy a pass. First, let's not even talk about 2012 through 2014. The guy was amazing. He came into the league supposed to be the best prospect since John Elway. Okay, you go to 3 straight playoff appearances, you find yourself in an AFC championship game, you lighten it up. But since that point, whether it's not been consistent play, whether it's been injuries, or even off the field, he's injured and in the offseason goes snowboarding, hurts himself during the snowboarding accident, and no one hears about it. No one knows about it until he finally says, oh, yeah, I hurt myself, but trust me, it didn't affect my injury. It didn't. Now, I'm just sitting back here saying, let that be any other player, and I don't know, a Cam Newton or something, or anybody else with high expectations that have not lived up to him in the last few years, whether it's injuries or just your own play, and get this type of pass. So I'm very interested in seeing if he's going to be, forget all time in that John Elway conversation, is he just going to be all good? Like, is he just going to finish what he starts and finish this season?
He hasn't played in quite a while. I'm not going to even get into the snowboarding incident.
Oh, yeah, another media member.
He's an odd dude.
He hasn't played in quite a while. He did play solid football for him this past week. He really did.
Yes.
As a quarterback, all you can ask of your players is to do your jobs and to do as best you can. At the end of the day, you think about it. They're marching down the field to win the game. Mm-hmm. He hits the tight end. He coughs it up.
Yep. They lost to the Bengals, man, at home.
And the Bengals
are talented, but
Bengals is a talented football team.
Yeah, that is a talented team, always, though.
And,
New
you think about, but you think about it. He hasn't played. He has some game day rust, but he looks solid, and he was playing good enough for them to win.
He's an odd dude.
I thought we were not allowed to snowboard. I thought it's in our contract. They told me I couldn't go skiing. Anyway, seriously. I think I'm still all in on Andrew Luck. I like him. I like him a lot. When he's healthy, he's shown me enough body of work that he can go out there and play like he did opening game a couple weeks ago. I think this is going to be a great year. I think he's going to be up for comeback player of the year.
Ladies and gentlemen, another media member.
Comeback player of the year.
Let me add this. I'm just telling you, and I got some weird quirks. It's like I don't like OBJ because I don't like the blonde hair. Never really got on board with Andrew Luck because of the beard. It's just a crazy look to me, his beard. He's he's an odd and different dude. When you talk to people in that locker room,
you don't like him because he's odd and different?
Yeah.
Because of his beard.
Listen, you need a certain type of leadership in an NFL locker room, and I don't think he provides it. He's a different, nerdy, kind of weird, off dude. And when you compare him, and again, I know those players have all left since Peyton Manning, but when you compare him in terms of on-field leadership in the locker room, and what Peyton Manning would and would not tolerate in the locker room, he's got none of that quality in Indianapolis.
Every quarterback's not going to be your leader. Every quarterback's not going to be,
Aaron
Rodgers, a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning. Just because they are paid. Listen, quarterbacks get paid a lot of money nowadays. You don't have to be a great player to make a lot of money in the National Football League today.
I don't like the beard.
You don't like the beard?
I'm not going with how he
Should he cut the beard?
looks.
Should he
It's
cut
a
the
weird
beard?
look.
But he still plays solid in this first game.
But we all know the cliche, the best ability is availability. So it's amazing that when a guy's career is shortened or he doesn't play up to expectations, we go at him, we condemn him because, hey, man, why couldn't you stay healthy? But then in this situation, we're not even going there. We're like, when healthy, then he's amazing. Like, that has ruined many careers not healthy.
All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's my new co-host, Marcellus Wiley. Let's move to the U.S. Open controversy, where people are pushing back against the media's treatment of Serena Williams' meltdown, with one chair umpire saying the community feels abandoned by the WTA in the face of criticism. Meanwhile, Williams has earned nothing but media love for saying her outburst was about more than winning or losing a match.
I've seen other men call other umpires several things, and I'm here fighting for women's rights and for women's equality and for all kinds of stuff. And for me to say thief and for him to take a game, it made me feel like it was a sexist remark. I mean, like, how he's never took a game from a man because they said thief. For me, it blows my mind. I just feel like the fact that I have to go through this is just an example for the next person that has emotions and that want to express themselves and they want to be a strong woman, and they're going to be allowed to do that because of today. Maybe it didn't work out for me, but it's going to work out for the next person.
All right, the applause for the media there was interesting, but yesterday, New York Times tennis writer Christopher Clarey tweeted that men actually had 86 code violations during the U.S. Open, while women had just 22. Here we go again with troubling facts getting in the way of troubling emotions and a narrative. I said this yesterday, I just want to repeat. A lot of people, including myself, talking about this issue, only watch Serena Williams.
Okay.
And so they don't have any context, and they don't have the patience to wait for context, and then they don't have the initiative to go out and find context. And so everybody's just saying what feels good, including Serena Williams. But I think Christopher Clarey's facts here about what's really went on at that U.S. Open kind of undermine Serena's point. And I think when you look at the way the Umpire Association is rallying around this guy who was personally disparaged, called sexist, when I don't know if there's any proof that anything he did was sexist, that's just unfair. You can call him incompetent, you can call it a bad decision, you can do all that, but when you go to motive and it's because he's dismissive of women or whatever, that's a little much for me.
Look, numbers never lie, they say, huh? But they don't tell the full story. And there's a reason why Christopher Clarey's tweet, pretty concise and just number-based, because the story is much more interesting, and this is the experience Serena Williams lives. Think about it. She's saying basically, look, I crossed the line, I get it.
No, she didn't say that.
Well, she did in the response that men get away with more. So she's not talking about action like we said yesterday. She's talking about penalty. So let's talk about how she did one thing but got excessive penalty. She's saying the men do the same thing and their penalty is not the same as a woman. So here's some examples, because obviously we don't watch a ton of tennis,
right,
but I'm on the court. I'm a 3-0, 3-5, depends on the day. One player, male, only assessed the point penalty in his tirade of breaking multiple rackets. I'm going to ratchet this up. Then another player is fined $7,200, almost $10,000 less than Serena, for smacking a ball right into the umpire's eye, fracturing a bone in his eye. Okay, and your fine is not even half of Serena's. Let's continue. Andre Agassi, this is a name we both know, fined $3,000. Guess what Andre Agassi did? Called an umpire a son of a bee, and then supposedly, allegedly, inadvertently spit on him. I don't know what happened, but spit came from his mouth onto an umpire, rescinded, fine, down to $3,000. All she's saying is, hey, my actions, I get it, that's why I'm in hot water. But why is it at this temperature when with the men, it's at a different temperature and a lesser temperature?
Because Marcellus is just like when we were kids, and you far more recently than me. There was always a parent in the neighborhood, oh, you know, that's the house you can go have a drink at. Maybe smoke some weed, blah, blah. Because that's how they parent over there.
That's how they roll over there,
And then you got the other parents like, no, when you go over there, you don't cuss, you don't use the N-word, you're very respectful. Because that's how, I'm thinking of one of my best friends, Willie Clark and Mr. and Mrs. Clark. That's how they parented. And so when I went over there, I carried a whole different vibe than I went maybe, I ain't even going to say it, when I went someplace else. And so Carlos Ramos, his reputation precedes him. And so you can cite examples of this guy and this guy and this guy who are more tolerant, but everything's on an individual basis depending on who you're dealing with. And again, his reputation precedes him. He's not some brand new umpire. He's been out here for a while. And then Serena's reputation also precedes her
Right.
and puts her perhaps in more jeopardy than some other players because she's got a history.
I'm glad you said that because it's interesting. A lot of people are using the argument, well, since you know who he is, be on notice. And then, whether you're being coached or not, you got caught being coached, whether you received it or not. Now you need to be on notice, Serena. But the umpire, Carlos Ramos, you need to be on notice to not insert yourself in this U.S. Open as the star of this moment. You're not the star of this match. And what happens is, like in basketball, any sport, when you get the first tech, the player's like, oh, I got to calm down. But the referees or umpire in this situation needs to say, it has to be egregious, the next act that is committed. Because if not, I'm going to insert myself as a star, and I know what that's going to look like.
And that's where it fell apart because the rules are crystal clear. When you break your racket, he had no choice. I'm taking this from Martina Navratilova and other experts. And so, again, I agree, the first penalty was over the top. He should have let that ride on the coach and give her a soft warning, not a real warning. But once he gave you the real warning, now the path is laid out and clear. And then to come in and just, again, in this guy's mind, his character and these other umpires' mind, what they're complaining about, she went right at his character and motives, not, man, that was a horrible call. That guy interjected himself into a match that's much bigger than him. That was a horrible decision by him. I don't know his motives. Again, he could have needed a Snickers and just having a bad day. Ain't no telling what's going on in his personal life or why he's got a shorter fuse than everybody else. But when you just start labeling people sexist or racist and without any proof, it's just unfair, and it creates division, and it creates umpires who are now talking about potentially boycotting Serena's matches.
Look, understood fully that in that moment when she's taken a loss, and in her world, in a grander scope, she's like, this loss is unfortunate and unfair because I have seen less get away with this, and I've seen more get away with this. So why am I the one being tormented? That's the time where she said, I elect to get a win out of this. Hey, I'm not going to take all L's across the board. You already took a point. You already took a game. Let me now stand for something greater. And that's what people are applauding.
Let me overshadow the 20-year-old woman winning her first major. All right, welcome back. Marcellus and I disagree about a lot, including social media. He loves it. I hate it. Here to convince me it's not so terrible is our social media manager, Darnell Smith. Darnell, ooh, love that shirt, Darnell.
Yeah.
Gotta represent. Gotta represent.
Should be nationally ranked.
Somebody got to represent. Since y'all don't on the field, somebody represent.
All right, Mr. Columbia.
Okay, you want to play?
Anytime.
Right.
Let's go ahead and get started, man, with the NFL. Marshawn Lynch, who was put on blast during Monday Night Football with people losing over this side-by-side picture of Beast Mode last night versus Beast Mode in high school. Which one do you like more?
This blew my mind last night.
I couldn't believe it.
This blew my mind.
That's what's under there?
Yeah, that's. I like the high school one better, but I went and did a little digging and found another high school picture of someone who's had a dramatic change.
Oh.
What'd you weigh there? $160?
183 wet with $5 in my pocket, all change. And that's not even high school. That's my freshman year of college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even worse, man. Somewhere underneath all these layers is that guy still somewhere.
Yeah.
But
your head is bigger than your body. You've been bald for a long time now.
Yeah, that was a shaving accident. Went wrong.
All right, Darnell, what's next?
Yes, moving on to Australia, where newspaper is taking heat for this cartoon about Serena Williams that some people say is racist, including Australian Ben Simmons, who tweeted he was truly disappointed. Do you like Ben Simmons sticking up for Serena?
Do I like Ben Simmons sticking up for Serena? I don't like this tweet. To disrespect Serena Williams, a 23-time Grand Slam champion, in this light is truly disappointing. As an Australian, I am truly disappointed. This is level 10 wokeness.
Oh, really? Why is that?
She's a public figure. Public figures get caricatured and lampooned. This isn't disrespect. This is the price of being rich and successful.
Yeah,
Pull
look,
Twitter off here.
Well, look, even as a public figure, we still understand court of public opinion, public sentiment, when something's gone too far. Remember, Serena has been through it, even in the racial lens in her own sport. At ESPN, someplace we both have been familiar with, there was one sport that was taken down for message boarding because of racial issues. What was that one sport?
Probably soccer and tennis.
It was one sport. It was tennis, not even soccer, not even golf through Tiger Woods. So, yeah, enough of the whole trying to get outside the lines when you want to attack Serena and using the racial lens. I'm with Ben Simmons on this one.
All right, Darnell, what's next?
Yes, to Detroit, where the Lions got clowned by the Jets and then clowned on Twitter with one fan writing, gotta feel bad here. This guy just wanted to take his son to a game, and now he's playing for the Lions. Matt Stafford and Matt Patricia got theirs, too. Are the Lions the new laughingstock of NFL Twitter?
Yeah, and I love this Jones Jr. versus Jones.
Yeah, that's great.
Daddy, son to work day, and they get stuck playing for the Bad News Lions.
Oh, man. I mean, look, we're piling on right here, channeling my inner Tony Gonzalez. Let's chill on after game one, because the Lions are going to be okay. Not great, not good, okay. So I don't want to pile on a team where I know Matthew Stafford could play a lot better than he did.
You must have friends on the Lions. You got friends.
A little Twitter off.
Yeah. All right, what's next, Darnell?
This next one's probably my favorite one. Moving on to some street ball, where a guy made this video for World Star, interfering in the middle of people's basketball games and almost getting himself punched in the face. Do y'all think this is real?
Yeah, that's real. That's real right there. First of all, how dare you hint at the racial in that and saying you're judging somebody by the paint job. Like, yeah, one, he can ball, and two, he was setting them up. You know why he was setting them up? Because they were in shock. When you're not getting set up, you know somebody's going to say, oh, this is a setup? I'm going to play it off. I'm going to be all in the mix. These dudes were in shock. So, yeah, I think this is real.
I hope it's not real. I hope that this dude isn't running around trolling people without understanding at some point this is going to get embarrassing for a lot of people. He's going to catch a two-piece, and it's going to be embarrassing for him, and then the people that give him the two-piece, they're going to be in trouble. This will not end well for either party. It's funny. I watched it. I don't know. I'm hoping it's a bunch of actors.
I don't know, Whitlock, that driveway dunking everybody was doing. I thought somebody was going to catch worse than a two-piece. Nothing happened. Everybody was just running through driveways, and that was it. And speaking of that was it, I know we're not going to do this segment without bringing up some tweet I saw on social media. So let me take control of this. Why are you going to disturb my peace with this? Jason Whitlock had to tweet out, let's be careful tossing around the word legend. One guy is in the Dub C Hall of Fame and likely considered the best at his position in school history. Also, I played O-line. Yeah, we could tell that. Only a handful of legends that came through Dub C. Let's call Darnell elite. Now,
wow.
I mean, talking about the battle of two-star recruits. I mean, like Nick Saban would be like, look, don't wake me up from my nap ever to talk about either one of you guys coming out of high school. What? Two bowling balls just saying who was better. Like, y'all, what is going on? Who was better?
Look, I'm in the Hall of Fame. I led Warren Central to its first state championship. We now have 8. I set the table. Darnell was a very good player, a better player than me at Ball State.
And Warren Central.
But at Warren Central, it ain't even close.
Look, I hate to judge a book by its cover, but it looked like he was a little better than you, no?
The guy's 30 years younger than me.
Hold on, Whitlock. You in the Hall of Fame, man. Hold on to something.
He's 30 years younger than me, and just like I told him over Twitter, you didn't put this one up. We can pad up anytime you want, Darnell.
Anytime, we can do it right here on set.
We can pad up.
You got an official right here. I want to see that.
If I can still get in the stands, we can pad up.
Your knee flare up on you today.
All right, welcome back. We're going to end our show every day with our approval ratings. Just to give you some context of how we come up with these, the ratings are based on 4 categories: job performance, all-time great status, character, and authenticity, each ranked on a scale of 0 to 25 for a total range up to 100. We're going to focus in on whoever the top story of the day is. Today it's Jon Gruden. Anything between a score of 81 to 100 is GOAT status. 70 to 80 is All-Star. 55 to 69 is Hall of Good. 41 to 54 is scout team, and anything 40 and below is a dumpster fire. Make sense?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Let's talk Jon Gruden, whose return to the Raiders has been pretty rocky so far, from the Khalil Mack situation to last night's ugly blowout loss to the Rams. But I have Jon Gruden making a major move in my approval ratings. Some of this is because I was really down on Jon Gruden.
Low expectations, huh?
No, as his previous job, he was an announcer and a broadcaster. And I was really down on him last year. He called a football game ugly and disgusting, pissed me off, and so I had him rated really low. He moves up 9 points today. Job performance, where I had him really down last year, he's now at a 21. He's back in his lane as a football coach. All-time status, now that he's a coach, I got him 15. If he gets another Super Bowl, we'll move him up there, all-time status. And then just authenticity, which I was really low. When he's sitting there calling an NFL game, talking about it's disgusting and he's bothered by these big hits, he had virtually no authenticity with me. As a football coach, I got him at a 14 for a total score of 66.
Man, you got him at GOAT status.
Oh, 66.
Job performance, if I were to extract job, that's too high a job performance. You know that. Did they win the game?
No.
Okay, so
did he coach well?
He coached. He called up some good plays, but you're the head coach. You're not just the play-calling head coach, offensive coordinator. You're also defensive coordinator because you're the head coach. You also have to manage emotions. You also have to have the guys respond after halftime. So job performance should be a little lower. And all-time status.
So you got his job performance at 19.
I got his job performance at 19.
Yeah.
And let's talk about his all-time status, because he's not just par, just a little better because he has a Super Bowl championship. And respect, everyone says—
Tony Dungy's team.
I love when I hear it.
Tony Dungy's team.
You know what? But you got to respect the guy who got it out of those same players. Like, whatever you want to say about Dungy, you got to give respect to the coach who—
Who built that defense? They won with defense.
Oh, great. I love all that, but the cherry
What did he
on
do
top—
with their offense? Brad Johnson, Keyshawn Johnson.
He told them the Raiders play calling in the Super Bowl. That helped as well. Dungy couldn't have done that. Character is the issue here when you talk about Jon Gruden.
Oh, really?
Validated that criticism against him, being standoffish with Khalil Mack, you know, probably a future Hall of Famer there. And then Marquette King, not even talking to the guy, cutting him before you meet him. That is still coming back to haunt him because there was no pass rush last night. Finally, authenticity, I have to give him a high grade. He sells the hell out of Chucky. You said it even in your essay, like, win or lose, this team, this organization, this fan base is as strong as ever in terms of support because they believe in Chucky. Gave him a 10-year deal, so that Chucky is sold to the point where it covers up a lot of work.
I just want you to listen to what you're saying.
Okay.
He sells the hell out of Chucky.
Chucky.
Chucky's a character. He's not the real person. Jon Gruden is a real person. And so that would be like saying Al Pacino playing Michael Corleone was authentic.
Okay.
He's playing the role of Michael Corleone. That's not, it's a great acting performance, but that's not who Al Pacino is.
Well, that's why I have my character low, but then I'm saying, what you're selling, what are you bringing? What's the response to you? And is that a marketing message that is being well received? Obviously it is. And all this added up, for me, 72 makes him a lower level all-star. And that's exactly who he is. I think we forget those seasons after the Super Bowl year, 3 of those 6 losing seasons. We forget that. So he's a little better than the average because of the Super Bowl championship. And obviously with that contract, got to bump him up a little.
I got to see more work in the authenticity. The character deal, the reason why I have him at a 16, and again, it's not that I'm the po-po or the morality police, but look, he got a DUI early in his coaching career with the Raiders. I still haven't marked that off my list. I know that's been years ago.
Okay.
And so I still, and then as it relates to all-time status, if he turns the Raiders around in the next 3-4 years, makes that Vegas thing a success, the sky is the limit. But for right now, I'm going to keep him around a 15. I got to see 2-3 years from now, that all-time status still may never move for a couple of years. I got to see him have big success.
A coach has a $100 million contract, and you got him in the Hall of Good? Like well, your numbers don't add up. Look at my approval rating, and you start to see, yeah, that's exactly what they got. They got someone who can sell something to their fan base. through the transitional phase to Vegas. They have someone who is above average as a coach, and they have a guy that, despite his own issues, guys buy in. Do you understand that Derek Carr did an interview? And in the interview, he said man, which is the choice word of Jon Gruden, 21 times in one sit-down interview. That is called, I am converting this locker room into the mindset and philosophy in which I exude. So to me, Gruden sells, whether you like it or not, he sells his message to those or he gets you out of town.
At some point before the week is over, we got to get to Serena Williams on the approval rating.
Yeah.
You know, the approval ratings a lot of times are based on whoever the topic of the day is, and I thought Gruden, but we may have to sneak Serena in here tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That'll be fascinating.
Well, one category won't be job performance, 25. Let's just write it in now. Yeah.
No, I think all-time greatness will be a 25. Job performance, right? We're giving it away. Job performance will be a little.
Okay.
I could go either direction on that. All-time greatest 25, job performance. After you just threw that tantrum, character, authenticity.
Okay, there you go.
A lot to discuss on Serena Williams.
Let's get that in then, all right?
2 days in, this has been awesome.
My dog, appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, lock it in with Rachel Bonetta. It's dark.